This, I have to say, is an incredibly impressive room. And I want to say to Bobby and Bernie, thank you so much for having me here today. I am thrilled. Now, I've been given my walking orders, and I too know that we do not have a lot of time, so let's get right to it, shall we? I'm with a research company, as you just heard, and so, of course, what I want to do today is start off with a survey. So, it's a pop quiz. Question number 1. Finish this statement. Black don't. Very good. All right, question number 2. What's the Black person's definition of the word kitchen? The nape of your neck, that's right. Okay, doing good so far. Question number 3. If I get out my Vaseline and take off my earrings, what's going on? It's about to go down. All right. Question number 4. Where do Black people go for therapy? Church. I've also heard barbershop and beauty shop. Question number 5. Who did we call our first Black president? Bill Clinton. Very good. Complete this sentence. In order to be considered half as good, you have to work twice as hard. Number 7. Name the 3 pictures that you most often found hanging on a Black family's living room wall during the 60s or 70s. Jesus, Kennedy, and Martin Luther the King. True or false? Last question. Did King say, it was King who said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself? False. It was not. It was Franklin D. Roosevelt during his first inaugural address in 1932. So, how did you all do on the quiz? All of you who got 100%, raise your hand. Yes? I don't see a lot of hands going up. All right. Now, we're going to let you keep your Black card for today. Congratulations. But for those of you who did not, and you don't have to raise your hand, but for those of you who may not have gotten 100%, I need you to connect with someone today to figure out why the answers were the answers that they were that you missed, okay? All right? All right. So, Black culture, you gotta love it. It's almost instinctively ingrained in us. It's been passed down from generation to generation, or somehow you just manage to pick up on it through osmosis. Now, I don't actually remember teaching my 21-year-old son any of the answers to those questions, the quiz that I just gave, but he knew every single one of them. I also gave that quiz to my sisters who are in their 50s and their 40s, and to my mom who's 77, and to my husband who is 66, and to my 32-year-old millennial colleague at the office. All of them were African American, and all of them got the right answers. So this culture that we have, it passes down from generation to generation. But culture, Black culture, is actually bigger than just us. It's a key driver of influence across all demographics in the United States. I mean, being Black is kind of cool, okay? We have style, we have flair, we have attitude, sometimes a little bit too much for people's comfort zone, but we still have it. And we are massive influencers. In fact, 73% of whites and 67% of Hispanics say that Blacks are heavy influencers of pop culture. Yet rarely when a conversation about African Americans is being held, are we talking about all the cool things about our culture. In fact, lately, when it seems that any discussion about African Americans or Black is being held, you can't have that conversation without the issue of fear coming up, either in regard to what Blacks are afraid of or who might be afraid of us. And that's why Dr. King's quote on fear, which was not the quote that we shared during the quiz, is the one that I really like as well and is as relevant as FDR's quote. Dr. King said, people fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they are not or have not communicated with each other. So the concept of fear was weighing really heavily on my mind when I wrote this speech for you all this morning. And it's what I want to talk about this morning, fear. Because I know a lot of us are feeling it right now, this state of the world. But first, I have to tell you a personal story. It's convoluted and it's a little bit complicated, but it has a message and it ties all together, so hang with me, okay? Okay, you gotta stick with me. All right. I was married before to a Ken McNeil, an African-American man, okay? Ken, before me, was married to Kathy, an African-American female. Y'all with me so far? Ken and Kathy had 2 daughters while they were married. Brandy, the oldest, and Shannon, the youngest. Because Ken is African-American and Kathy is African-American, the girls are therefore African-American. Ken married me, and I'm African-American. I know you're not really sure. I'm African-American, and we had our son, KC. So there are 3 McNeil children now who are African-American, 2 girls and 1 boy. You with me? All right. Kathy remarried Terry. Terry is Caucasian, a Caucasian male. Now, before Kathy married Terry, Terry had been married to another African-American woman. He likes black women. I ain't mad at him. And they had a son, Robert. Robert and Terry, now you're getting me confused. So Terry and his wife produced Robert, a biracial boy. You with me? And then Kathy and Terry had Jasmine, a biracial daughter. So now there are 5 children, 5 siblings, 3 African Americans and 2 biracials. All right? Fast forward to last summer. Shannon got married. And so we all drove up to the mountains. I don't know why we were in the mountains for a wedding, but we all drove up to the mountains for the wedding. Shannon married Paul. Paul is an Asian American. Oh, yeah. All right. So we've got Paul's family. We've got my family, because I'm there with KC, even though Ken and I have been divorced for 16 plus years now. And we've got Kathy and her extended family, although Kathy and Terry have now split up, and Terry's now with another Asian woman. He left the black girls, y'all. Okay. So, after the wedding, they want the family, they make an announcement that the family should come up on stage for a family photo. So, KC's in my ear. Ooh, Mom, this is gonna be messy. And I don't know if I should even go up on stage, because I technically have been divorced from the family for the last 16 years. So I don't know, should I go up on stage? Should I not go up on stage? But KC, your family, you go. I know for sure you go. But Kathy says, no, Cheryl, come, you come too. Okay, so we're walking up on stage, and KC and I get in our positions, and this boy, who is 6'5", by the way, so he hovers over me, is in my ear again. Ooh, Mom, this is messy. All right, so we're taking pictures, and there on stage, again, all of Paul's family, Asian Americans, and all of Shannon's siblings. So you've got Shannon, who's marrying Paul. You've got Brandy, who is engaged to Kelsey, a white lesbian. You have Jasmine, who is also engaged to Mark, a white Caucasian male. And then thank God, Robert and Casey didn't bring anybody. So we're all up on stage preparing to take this photo. And there's Aunt Ruth in the back, who had been making her way up to the front of the stage. And Aunt Ruth is about 80, so her progress was a little slow. So she hadn't been watching as we all gathered together on stage. She just knows that when she got to the end of the stage and looked up, she saw the United Nations. And it freaked her out. It literally freaked her out. And she got upset and she got angry and she started throwing people off the stage. They said, family, you ain't family, get off the stage. You ain't family, get off the stage. Casey, ooh, Mom, I told you, this is messy. Shannon, God bless her, said, as she stood there, beaming, this 28-year-old bride, Aunt Ruth, it's okay. It's okay. They're all family. And we took a happy shot, and the party progressed and moved on. That is what I call my story of Aunt Ruth. And I say that because it can't just be me who is starting to see the changing dynamics that we hear about impacting our lives. Are there any others of you out there who are starting to have more blendedness in your families? By show of hands. Anyone? Oh my God. Hold your hands up high, you guys. Look around. Look around. It's everywhere. It's not just relegated to my family. When you consider these facts, 10% of African American women are married to someone of a different race. 10% of Hispanic women are married to someone of a different race. 26% of Asian American women are married to someone of a different race. Between the year 2000 and 2014, the Black population grew at a rate of almost 18%, which is 4% faster than the growth rate for the total US population. But millennials, 42% of all millennials, and those are those children of ours who are between the ages of 18 to 34 who drive us a little bit cray-cray. Millennials, 42% are multicultural. 51% of children under the age of 11 are multicultural. 21 of the top 25 most populated counties in the United States are multicultural. Which brings me back to my topic for today, fear. Because the changing dynamics of my family scared the bejesus out of Aunt Ruth. But Aunt Ruth isn't the only person who finds it scary. These numbers are scary to millions of people. They are disconcerting. Some may feel it's un-American. And so they push against it. In Brendan Burchard's book, The Motivation Manifesto, he says, fear gives rise to an overwhelming self-protection to a degree that those who are afraid want power over others. And Stephen Covey, in his New York Times bestseller, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, habit number 5, says to seek first to understand, then to be understood, which sounds like something that would be in alignment with Dr. King's school of thought. Because surely we recognize the natural inclination of man for man to self-protect. Yet how often, as Blacks, and I'm asking the Blacks in this room, have we taken the time to seek first to understand, then to be understood? How often have we taken the time to understand how frightening these shifting demographics have to be to non-Hispanic whites. We want everybody to understand our perspective, but King often wanted to make sure that both sides were heard. But by show of hands, how many of you have seen a panel of white men or women being interviewed anywhere about how they feel about these changes? Show of hands. Very few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can count them. 7, 8. One of my favorite sayings is, ask me no questions, I tell you no lies. But I also love, if you don't ask, you don't get. So if we haven't taken the time in the spirit of Dr. King to understand others about what causes this fear, is it any wonder that we are caught off guard by that which we do not know? The truth of the matter is, outside of my own dysfunctional family, Aunt Ruth has very little power. She didn't even really have power that day, right? But what if there are Aunt Ruths among us? What if you are a closet Aunt Ruth? What if the Aunt Ruths of the world are set loose on America's main stage? What if Aunt Ruths of the world have money and power? What if the Aunt Ruths of the world get to determine who gets into the family, i.e. the United States? And what if Aunt Ruth gets to determine who doesn't, who isn't allowed in? Suddenly, that cute little story ain't so cute anymore. What if my stepdaughter Shannon, the bride, hadn't spoken up and said, Aunt Ruth, it's okay. It's okay, they can stay. What if she had just passively stood there silently and allowed those whom Aunt Ruth deemed unworthy of being in the family to be banished from the stage, from the family, from the picture altogether? 28-year-old Shannon wasn't afraid to challenge 80-year-old Aunt Ruth, which leads me to 3 quotes by Dr. Martin Luther, the King, that I feel are appropriate about how to handle fear. 1, there comes a time when silence is betrayal. 2, and you heard it before, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. 3, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. So on a broader platform, if Aunt Ruth was the leader of the free world, if we as Americans allow Aunt Ruth to take over, the shift of power becomes flat out dangerous. If you used to be like me, you open up your Skanner newspaper, or you go to digital news source or a social media platform, and you watch eagerly to see what's going to happen. Who is going to be responsive when Aunt Ruth says something about not allowing people from bleep hole countries in? Who will speak up? If you're like me and the way I used to be, you expect somebody, anybody out there to speak up. But where were the voices I expected, no, I needed to hear in that room that day? Not later on. Not once there were cameras rolling, but in the room. Who spoke up? Now, I'm with Nielsen. We measure what people watch on television, and I know that 2.27 million of you all watch The Housewives of Atlanta. Now, I know it's none of y'all in this room, but I do watch it. And one year, there was a scene when Sheree got into a yelling match with a party planner, and he was saying, I'm going to check you. And she said, who going to check, boo? Who you going to check? Who, boo? I kept waiting for some checking to go on in that room last Thursday. I needed somebody to say with a little charade attitude, boo, Aunt Ruth, you can't say that. You don't get to say that. But according to the Washington Post, that didn't happen. According to the Washington Post, there are still people in the room who are refuting that the comment was even made. So what I have to say is, you guys, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. There are 46 million Black people here in the United States. 46 million. And yet, if you were like me, we only thought about ourselves as individuals. If you are like me, you stare at that television set and you're numbed by fear and you're frustrated and you want to know who's going to come help clean up this situation. And I'm here to tell you there are 46 million of you all who can step up and clear this up. We look at that television screen, paralyzed, sitting in our lazy boy chairs, and we ask ourselves, but what can I do? I'm only one person. It's just me. What can I do? I've got a job that helps me pay the bills so I can send my son to college without any student loan debt. What can I do? I can't speak out. I need my job. What can I do? I'm not in DC. I'm not on television. I only have 500 Facebook friends on Powerful Penny and 1,000 Twitter followers at Powerful Penny. What can I do? Let me tell you something about yourselves, Black people. Okay. Blacks watch 40% more television than any other group of people. We watch 56 hours of television a week. The majority of it is sports and reality TV. We listen to more radio than any other demographic group in the country. 95% of us are listening to radio every week. There were 27.6 million interactions across Facebook and Twitter about the last year's Grammy Awards. 27.6 million. The number of foreign-born Blacks in the United States quadrupled between 1980 and the year 2015. 11% of the Black population here today are immigrants. And by the way, while we're worried about the countries that they're coming from, just so you know, the immigrants who are here earn 30% more household income in general than those of us who were born here. So I think I was asking myself the wrong question. The question wasn't, what can I do? The question I should be asking, and when I say I mean y'all too, should be, what can I do with the other 45,999,000 Black people and our supporters? That's what we should be asking. In the Motivation Manifesto, Burchard also says, when we allow fear as a constant in our lives, our ambitions and behaviors become small and constrained. We become timid and stressed. We withdraw. We become cowards. This is not a philosophical discussion. Real, tangible harm comes from allowing fear to overrule our drive to personal freedom. Some people become such slaves to fear that they constantly feel powerless, inferior, ready to give up. They play it safe, never showing themselves to the world. These are the meek who stood to inherit the earth, but never rose to claim it. The sullen who watched atrocities wear on without a word of defiance. We can't stay rooted in fear, you all. I moved out of fear, and I want you to come join me. And I know that we actually have the power to speak up and represent ourselves. We don't have to wait for boo to get checked by somebody else. We can do the checking. You have the power. 40 years ago, they used the resources that were at their fingertips. They organized. It took weeks, sometimes years to organize. You all can do it in mere minutes using social media. You have followings? Stop sending the cute cat videos and start sending motivational videos about getting your butts up out of the seat and taking action. You have the power. Your book club is power. Those of you controlling how your corporations support Black communities and where to advertise have the power. Your Links membership is power. Your Alpha, Omega, Delta conclaves are power. Your Jack and Jill meetings are power. Your Wednesday night church choir rehearsal is power. Are you using it? What can you do? Take over the agenda. Tell Sister Carlisle at next week's or this week's Wednesday night choir practice, I'd like to talk about some world issues at the end of this here choir rehearsal. And if we can't mix church and state, let's do it out in the parking lot. Y'all not in Chicago, it's not below 0 here. I'm feeling a heat wave. Because you know what? They're killing people in churches now. Did you know that? Last Sunday when Oprah accepted the Cecil B. DeMille Award, she spoke of Reese Taylor, the young African-American wife and mother who in 1944 was abducted, raped, and left blindfolded by the side of the road on her way home from church. That was 1944. They at least let her get out of the church. Now they're coming in after us in church. In the 50s and 60s, we handled this a little bit differently. In the 50s and 60s, when atrocities like this happened, we galvanized, we marched, we protested. Now, we have pundits who sit and talk about it 24/7 on cable news with no solutions. And we sit at home in our lazy boy chairs, still wondering, what can I do? And out of fear, we do nothing. And so, a new atrocity occurs. We repeat the process. The next atrocity occurs. We repeat the process. We repeat, we repeat, we repeat. And I've heard insanity defined as doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. So using that definition, I'm going to go out on a limb here today, Portland, Oregon, and I'm going to tell you, I think our United States of America is in a state of insanity. And I'm going to have to call all of us on the carpet about it too. I'm insane, you're insane, we're all insane because we keep doing the same things over and over and over again. Rosa has left us. Malcolm has left us. Martin has left us. The only us left is us. 46 million of us. Use your power for good. Thank you.